if you got the invite for this training, I said we are sharing details we typically share to that are exclusive to our premium members. And that is true. We are digging deep on this. In our training, we are very practical in our approach. When we tell you things, we show you what we tell you so that you can actually go back to your work and really, really do it. Not just describe to you, like we equip you to be able to do the same. In the subsequent slide, I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about what onboarding looks like, the PowerPoint slide, my agenda for my presentation and all of that. You will see that very shortly. I'm doing onboarding now. When I started out as a BA, I didn't used to do this. Why did I start doing this? I want to set myself up for success as a business analyst. I want to be able to come off as very professional, very credible. And I also want to bring my stakeholders, I want to ease them into the projects. I don't just want to bring somebody in or like work with somebody that was kind of, dragged into the project. You provide your stakeholders with information, equip them with all the information they need, and allow them to ask questions, ease them into the project so that you can seamlessly work with them to achieve the goal. So stakeholder onboarding, what is it? What does it look like? What is it all about? You have identified 5 stakeholders that you will work with as a business analyst. Onboarding them is kind of calling them into a meeting, telling them about yourself, trying to build that relationship. We saw that a key skill you have as a BA is building relationship. You want to build relationship with somebody you work with. You don't just want to get the person working right from the word group. So you want to be able to build relationship, get to know them, tell them about the project, try to agree ground rules, how you work, understand their availability, and then plan around further work. Take questions from them. They might be hearing about the project for the first time. Like they don't even have the slightest idea about the project. So it's an avenue for you to kind of clarify questions and, very importantly, build relationships, setting yourself up for success down the line. So let us continue. And like I said, if you know any BA, new BA, intermediate BA on the job, this is very useful for them. We are streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. If anyone misses this, you can direct them to this video. So next slide. Yeah, so I talked about the BA work awareness email. That's the first, you do that before you go on to your onboarding session. So this is a sample BA work awareness email you send. So the stakeholders or the steering committee members, those high level project stakeholders, have identified a couple of project stakeholders or maybe department leads or process owners you work with. I'll recommend you draft an email like this, notifying them about the project and telling them the next steps, like, knowing when you can book a session, or before you send out a meeting invite, I'll recommend you do this. So once you do this, you can then plan for your onboarding session. And typically when I go for those onboarding sessions, I prepare a PowerPoint slide, and this is typically my agenda for my PowerPoint slide. So I'm also sharing as we go along what that PowerPoint template will look like. So like I said, in our training, we equip you with tools, with knowledge, with templates. So we also have this template available for our students so that they can, you're on our training and you have a stakeholder onboarding to do. You quickly come and pick this template and make life easy for yourself. So in relationship building, you are getting to know the stakeholder, right? And of course, you want to come up as a very credible person, as a credible BA, well experienced. You want to be able to take the lead, to command the role, right? So you saw how I sold myself at the beginning of this presentation. You have to be a salesperson, talk about your skills, your experiences, and why you're on this project. What are your experiences? Where have you worked? What are the things you have achieved? Please sell yourself, because you want them to trust you that you know what you are doing and that you can successfully work with them to help them achieve their goals. Also ask them about their experiences And then you discuss the vision of the BA work at hand. Again, part of some of the discussion, some of the things I ask them is what is their availability like? Because their managers might tell them they are assigned to this project, but in truth, they don't really have availability. Like nobody's taking out work from their plate, but another work is being piled to their plate. So they are sincere enough to tell you what their availability is like. And then you can know that it might be a risk to your project because they are coming up to tell you, oh, I'm busy, I'm not available, which might be different from what their manager is saying. So as an experienced BA, you need to take note of that because that is a risk. If you don't have resources to work with, you can't do so much as a BA. There's a limit to what you can do. So you really need those stakeholders to be available to work with them. Then you also agree ground rules, maybe, for example, what is their preferred way of communication. It could be just email. And if you want to say something very important, there are some stakeholders that are never available. You might just have to send them a survey. So you can, set those ground rules, discuss expectation and how best to work together. And if possible, you can agree a recurring meeting. A regular time you want to meet, you could both agree, say you are meeting 1 hour every week, and then you can set up that recurring meeting on their calendar for the period you think the project would last. For example, because people's time, their calendars fill up very quickly, I try to book out a recurring time on their calendars once I'm able to even get that kind of access to them. And then if I don't need those meetings, I can as well cancel them. But as much as possible, block out times in the calendar for those meetings to happen. So like you start with the relationship building, then you now go into telling them what the project is all about, provide them the background for the project. What is the need? What problem are you solving? What opportunity are you trying to take advantage of? Talk about the project goals and objectives. What are the expected business outcome? What is in scope? What is out of scope? Somebody may want to ask, where do you get all this information? Remember, you did some bit of elicitation, some bit of research earlier at the beginning when you were told about your BA work. So there could be existing project charter document or business case document that could give you all of this information. If those documentation do not exist, you can actually have meetings with the project sponsors and project owners to help articulate all of this before you proceed down to continue your project work. But do you need to understand all of this at the beginning? To some level, yes. Then you can also refine as you continue to do your work. If you already have a project name, you can tell them the name of the project, who the sponsor is, who the owner is. If you have a project manager, you tell them about that, because at this point, they may not be in contact with the project manager. If you have a project repository, it could be a SharePoint site, it could be a Google Drive, where you need to exchange information, you also let them know where that is. If you know the start and anticipated end date of the work, you can also speak to that too. Now, timelines. If you have an idea of how long this your project timeline is, and I know I talked about this in the previous slide with the start and end date, but I included this graphic to also, you can put this as one slide to talk about the timelines and the milestone if you have them. What are the milestones? What are the schedules? What are the key points where you would need them? Key milestones of the project or the BA work you are doing. You could also tell them, talk to them about the project governance. And when I mean the project governance, it means who are the decision-making body or who are the people responsible for decision-making on that project. If you have a work that is properly set up as a project, you would typically have what is called the project steering committee. And it would constitute key members that are responsible for that project, making decisions, giving approvals and all of that. So if that is defined and articulated, it would also be good to let your stakeholder know at that point. Remember, the second phase of your work as a BA was to come up with a project approach, the way step by step you take to do your work. So if you have that, this is just a sample. Again, I'm putting this here. I don't want to give blank pages to my students. So when they have to do this, they know what to do. This is just a sample. And this is what a typical work approach would look like. You identify the key tasks you would do as the BA. If you are lucky and on a project, this work may have been done by the project manager. You don't have to reinvent the wheels. Why don't you go to the project manager's documentation and just lift it, and then you highlight what applies to that stakeholder, what the stakeholder needs to know. Then you need to tell them their roles and responsibility on that project. Before reaching out to those stakeholders, you should have an idea what you expect them to come and do. So at that point, for example, it could be you need them to describe their current process. You need them to document business and solution requirements. These are just sample tasks. So prior to your meeting with them, you can come up with some high-level activities and tasks. You don't have, at this point in time, you may not know all what you would have to work with, all the tasks you need to do with that stakeholder, but you should have put in some thought to it to understand where they will come in. So typically, if you can come up with a RACI matrix telling them what they have to do, where they come in, that would also be very good. And I try to define what I mean by my acronyms. R means responsible, the doer of the work. C is a contributor, they provide an input to the work to be done. Why I means informed, just kept in the picture. It could be their manager, could be the informed person here. So when I'm done with telling them what their roles and responsibilities are, of course, during that meeting, I tell them that they're allowed to stop me and clarify and ask questions. But I get to some point and I pause to take questions from them, because this is the first time they will be hearing some of the information I'll be sharing with them. And so they might have one or two questions. So I'll pause to take questions if they have any. And like I said, I also welcome them to interrupt me if I'm saying something they don't understand at some point. When I'm done taking questions and providing responses to their question, I kind of tell them what my expectations, we agree the next steps. So now they know about the project, they understand their roles and responsibilities, they know the work to be done. And we've kind of maybe we've agreed a recurring meeting time. So next steps is to agree. So when do we meet next? Do they need time to gather some prelim information and all of that? So you need to, because right now you've just concluded what I call the stakeholder onboarding. When you are done onboarding them, the next step is to then start the actual business analysis work, which is typically elicitation, right? So when you are done with sharing all the onboarding information with them, you kind of agree what the next steps are, so that you can take it up from there and continue the business analysis work. That is how I do stakeholder onboarding. I hope I answered your question, and I hope you found this very useful. And please, I want to get feedback. What do you think about this? Do you do something like this? How has it helped you? Or what are your light bulb moments? What do you think you would start doing differently to onboard your stakeholders? You know, my level of anxiety when I have projects is reduced, and it sets me up for success. Like, you know, I built a very good relationship. I didn't just jump into talking about the project. I got to talk to my stakeholder to understand them. Sometimes even ask, oh, do you have a pet? You know, talk about some fun thing outside of work, just to keep them at ease and, you know, have a conversation, not really do business analysis work in quotes. So any questions? Kimolayo says, can I do data analysis and business analysis at the same time? So Molaya would ask, what are you trying to achieve? Are you looking out for a data analysis role or a business analysis role? Because these are two different job roles within organizations. What are you trying to achieve?
I am new to all this. And like I explained to you, I read statistics and I'm trying to change and come into business analysis or data analysis. So I'm still trying to find my feet to understand what they are all about and to see which one is the best for me to just go into.
Okay. I would recommend you pick one and pursue one. Don't do both of them, because they each require lots of learning and lots of work. And I wouldn't, for you to be effective, run with one. When you master that one, if you feel you are interested in another one, then you can take time to do more research to understand what you really want, what you can work with, what your preference would be, and then pursue it. One, pace yourself. Don't try to do multiple things at the same time. You are more effective when you do one thing at a time. I'm speaking from experience.
Okay, can I quickly add to something you just said now? And it's for me, I think, what do you enjoy the most? Because you go through different classes like this, that it could be Scrum, it could be BA, it could be, it could be anything, it could be even product owner. But you must identify your skill set and what you think you will enjoy. There are people who don't like to talk a lot or even write a lot in terms of communication. If that's not you, then maybe BA might not be, or Scrum might not be the strong suit. I mean, I might be wrong, okay, but there are people who just want to do like cloud network engineering. They don't want to have to discuss too much with anybody. They just want to be in their own bubble. So depending on your strengths, I mean, that's how you can make an informed decision.
Yeah. I completely share your opinion. Of course, like I tell people that are trying to start careers in business analysis, first of all, understand what skill sets are required of these roles. Then look at yourself. What do you have? What do you enjoy doing? And that was why for those aspiring and the people that didn't have so much information about the BAs, I took time to show them what skills you require to be successful as a business analyst. So Mulai, I think you also need to also investigate that for data analytics and compare that, do an evaluation, do an assessment of your competencies and make that decision. So if I completely agree with you. So I'm sharing my screen here. I know I mentioned a couple of templates when I was talking. I talked about the business analysis work plan. So typically you have to plan out your work. I've showed you a sample of what a project approach looks like, which if you have a PM working, the PM might need to collaborate with others to come up with all of that. But as a BA, I typically own my own work and activities. It might be part of the bigger project management plan if I'm part of a project, but I want to be able to see and appreciate my task. And it also helps me to plan. So I kind of put it on a spreadsheet. And of course, if I need to report my work and all of that on a timesheet or on a project management spreadsheet, I still go back to do all of that. But for those that don't have any of such tools within the organization, Excel and Word is your best friend. You can do so much more. I hear people ask me a lot of questions. What are the tools? What are the tools you need to do your business analysis work? If you are good with Excel, Word documents, it's a very good place to start. In fact, it's a great place to start. So I identify all the business analysis work I would have to do. I itemize them here. I identify who will lead the work. Sometimes I might be involved in a work I'm not leading. For example, if we're looking at the architecture of a new technology solution, I might not be the one leading that work, but it kind of forms input to my work. So I need to collaborate with the solution architect or the technical architect to get all of that done. And then I can track my work if it's done, if it's work in progress, so that every week I can report back to my project manager or to my manager to show them the status of my work. So this is different from your elicitation plan, right? Your elicitation plan is a bit different. This is a document elicitation plan. For example, if I have a document I need to build, for example, it might be a business case, it could be a project charter if I'm working as a PM. I usually have a template that would help me break down every element of that document so that I'm not overwhelmed, right? You might be asked to come up with your business analysis work plan that has the background of the problem, the assumptions, the constraints and all of that. And then you have to map out the process and all of that. So what I do, I know what needs to go into my document. Again, I have a template. I don't need to populate everything in the template. I need to tweak it to suit the context of that situation. So I ask my stakeholders, what are the information that is important to them for that work? I talk to my PM, maybe to my manager and the project sponsor to know what is important to them. And that is what I put in my document. I don't just go ahead to begin to write a 50-page document because it has always been done that way. No, I tweak it to what is required. So when I have all those sections, it can be very overwhelming if you have all the many sections. So what I do is to break it down into elements and then identify who can provide me with the information to populate these templates. And then I book meetings with those people. You see, do you know why most business analysts set themselves up for success or get unnecessarily stressed on the job? They think because they are business analysts, they start and finish the work by themselves. They know everything. They do the work independently. That is wrong. That is not correct. As a business analyst, most times you would never create value on your own. You have to collaborate with other people, talk to people, ask questions, do document analysis to be able to finish a BA work. So when you have tasks to do, look for ways to break them down into tiny bits and then begin to tackle them step by step by step. That releases, it takes away stress. And when you work under stress, you are prone to making mistakes and feeling so unconfident and unnecessarily stressed. So I recommend you break it down one step at a time. Today, maybe you just want to talk about, understand the project background and purpose. You book the meeting with the relevant stakeholder that will help you identify that. Get all the information, come up with your list of questions, have that meeting, right? Engage them and get all that information. So again, these are some of the templates we use to help, because we appreciate the fact that these guys, people are new, they've never done anything business analysis. And so we kind of practically spoon feed you in the training, but also equip you to get you ready for the job. And we do a show and tell, We show you, we tell you, and we show you. We don't just tell you. We tell you what it is, and then we show you how. I showed you a sample template for doing onboarding. So that document is available for our students. If they have to do onboarding tomorrow, they just pick it up, tweak it, reformat it to suit their organizational branding and all of that, and get to work very quickly. So if you if you're interested in these and many more we provide on our training, you are welcome to ask questions and make inquiries. But I'll pause on that and take questions relating to the presentation we just made.